Here to discuss the financial aspects, if not the custodial aspects of the ruling, is the chairman of Mauldin Economics, John Mauldin. John, we thank you for joining us via satellite from Dallas today.
It's good to be with you guys. What's your first question, JD?
Well,
Let's hit it.
We're gonna take a look at one of the statements that came in, courtesy of one of the judges, Judge Griffith.
JD, let's hit it.
We're gonna take a look at one of the statements that came in, courtesy of one. We wish to. Let me take this from the top, John. It gets, usually I'm pretty good with words instead of numbers, but here it is. We reach this conclusion, frankly, with reluctance. At least until states that wish to can set up exchanges, our ruling will likely have significant consequences both for the millions of individuals receiving tax credits through federal exchanges and for health insurance markets more broadly. John, that's the pronouncement from the court. But this whole notion of tax subsidies to go to shore up insurance payments, was this a flaw to begin with in the way that Obamacare was constructed?
To say it's a flaw would be to take more of a partisan position. It was designed this way. They just didn't design it for the federal exchanges to do it under the statute. Law would be to take more of a partisan position. It was designed this way. They just didn't design it that the states would set up their own exchanges, just like they have with Medicare. This is essentially the same concept as Medicare. And the states have to do it, and then the money flows to the states with Medicare. So it wasn't a flaw, it was a feature. It just backfired on them. They had no idea that not just 2 or 3, but 33 states wouldn't set up their own exchange.
Yeah, and again, this is another signal that the law itself and the economics, John, of this might be imploding here. But what does this mean? Let's say if the ruling that said these subsidies are illegal, if that one winds up being the ruling of record, the one that stands, what does this mean for the law and the millions of people who are counting on these subsidies and thought they had health insurance?
Well, there's two things. I mean, the Supreme Court could go either way. I think you have to realize that this was a three-judge panel. It'll probably go to what they call en banc, to the full court. If the full appeals court rules against, then it will automatically go to the Supreme Court. We don't know what John Roberts will do, honestly, but it could be a year and a half. In the meantime, things will go on. If the Supreme Court rules against it, that would mean roughly 60 or 70% of the people, from what I can read, who are getting subsidies would really no longer be able to afford health care under the Obamacare current status. Now, Congress can drop back, change the rule in the meantime so it becomes a moot point, but that would mean that you have to bring up the entire rule, and you have to have Democrats and Republicans and the president working together.
Probably not going to happen on that.
The Supreme Court, if they say this doesn't work, that will basically force everybody to sit down and play nice in the sandbox, even though they may throw a little sand. But it clearly, if you understand the massive amounts of subsidies that the bulk of the people who've signed up are getting, they just won't be able to afford it. They'll walk away.
Well, with that situation, John,
the law would be gutted for all intents and purposes.
It may gut the law, but in the meantime, you've got the very real difficult situation for those families, but also for the economy. If this thing drags out for a long time, what I've always heard is financial markets hate uncertainty. As we continue to see this kind of push me, pull you with a lack of a definitive decision one way or the other, is this going to wreak havoc with the economy overall?
Well, this is what I was pointing out last year, that even though we're first of all, understand, let's just be clear. Our healthcare system, the way we were structuring our payments and the amount we paid and what we were paying for was dysfunctional. So whosever plan we implemented was going to create a change. Obamacare makes a pretty drastic change in how you do the plumbing and how you take monies from the insurance companies or the governments and you get it to doctors and hospitals. And that change in the plumbing was what created the negative GDP along with lower exports. But that's what changed. It created the negative GDP in the first quarter. Now, healthcare spending has come back somewhat, talking to hospitals. We're going to see that new GDP number here tomorrow, in a couple of days. But actually today, we'll start getting back, I think, later on. But the point here is that you cannot change that much plumbing without having some consequences. If your employer comes to you and says, okay, I'm going to not pay you for 60 days. Now, I'm going to pay you, you're going to get your money, but you're going to get a 3% haircut of pay you for 60 days. Now, I'm going to pay you, you're going to get your money happening to our healthcare system. Now, we're going to find hospitals in the third and fourth quarter are going to see their cash flows hit. They're going to realize that people are not going to be able to pay as much as they were expecting because everybody who's under this program is getting higher deductibles and they're getting higher copays.
You know, John,
and
as you set this thing up, it sounds like we all have caught a kind of a case of the economic flu courtesy of Obamacare. We'll have to leave it right there today,
well,
John.
It's not just courtesy of Obamacare. Okay, I really want to say Obamacare is one way to fix it. There are other ways to fix it. We have to learn how to spend less money. Our hospitals have to become more efficient.
Duly
we have
noted.
to rationalize.
We're
got to go,
after
John.
ration time, John.
Heartbreaker.
Thank you so much. We'll get back again real soon. There's more to come on America's Voice.